Hello and welcome to Madness in the Method, the Nicolas Cage podcast where we take a deep dive into one of our most enigmatic actors alive right now, and we talk about his career basically, starting from well, if you heard this before, you know we started with Valley Girl and we're ending with whatever movie he makes tomorrow or whenever, because he makes a lot of movies. Anyway, let's start the show. I am Tobias, and with me is my friend and trusted co-host, Christopher.
Hello, everyone.
I almost forgot your name. That was a new one. We've only known each other for 15 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Anyway, in this episode, we're talking about another Francis Ford Coppola movie, like we mentioned last week. We're talking about Peggy Sue Got Married. I guess, romantic comedy / fantasy movie from 1986.
Yeah, no, it's Back to the Future science fiction movie.
I mean, you have a time machine and
but
there's time travel involved. I mean,
it's a comedy. This is also a comedy.
Sure, it's a comedy wrapped in a shell of I guess fantasy or in Back to the Future's place sci-fi. But yeah, it's a comedy. Doesn't say anywhere. I can't look it up. Anyway, it's starring Nicolas Cage. Well, second build to Kathleen Turner. So he's moving up in the world. The last one
he was starring in the last movies.
Yeah, but now he's second build in a Coppola movie. That's different from being the star of a Canadian rowing movie.
What? Are you sure?
I mean, they're kind of similar, but not really.
Yeah.
Anyway, the story of Peggy Sue Got Married is it's about Peggy Sue, who after she's stuck in a loveless marriage since 25 years back. Well, they're divorced or getting divorced. I'm not sure. She is divorcing Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I got mixed messages because in the beginning it felt like they were divorced since a while back, but in the reunion they say we are getting a divorce. So
yeah, maybe they're in the middle of it, the proceedings. But they're both attending a high school reunion, and after Peggy gets she gets named the queen of the ball or whatever it is. She faints on stage. Prom queen.
Prom queen.
Exactly, prom queen. It's sort of like a prom, yeah, right. She faints and I guess hits her head. And then she wakes up back in the 60s, 2 weeks from her graduation day.
Yeah.
And now she has the chance to, I guess, not like a second chance to make things right, but kind of take stock of her life.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah.
It's going back and forth if it's a second chance or if it's just more of a Groundhog Day situation where she learns something. It's not really clear. No. And it's like we said, directed by Francis Ford Coppola and written by Jerry Lichtling and Arlene Sarner. I've never heard of those two before. Jerry Lichtling has written not much. He wrote Peggy Sue Got Married, then did a TV special called Earth Day Special, then a screenplay for a thing called Blue Sky, and then a TV movie called Switched at Birth. That's it. And Arlene has done the same. I think it was one. They seem to be a writing duo.
Yeah, she did Julie Walking Home as well.
Yeah, and something else. Yeah, I've never heard of them before.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they went into other careers after this. I don't know. Anyway, I got the feeling this was based on a book, but it isn't. I just thought it was. But it's an original screenplay, which is nice. Right, and we should mention that there are some other notable people in the cast. At least I recognize some other people. Well, everyone will recognize Jim Carrey.
Yeah, but there was a few others that I recognized. There was those kind of people where, me at least, I don't know from where. I just, is that guy and that's she. I've seen her somewhere.
Okay.
It was only Kevin J. O'Connor was the only one that I knew.
I recognized him as well, and I was like, is that Benny from The Mummy? And like, no, he's too handsome. Benny is like a little rat person in that movie. Yeah. But I looked it up. No, 12 years later, he went from kind of a good-looking dude in this movie to Benny in The Mummy. But it's him at least. And then, of course, Joan Allen and Catherine Hicks playing two of Peggy Sue's, Kathleen Turner's friends. Yeah. Catherine Hicks is, of course, the mother in Seventh Heaven. Yes. That's primarily where you know her from. Oh, and from, if you're a Star Trek fan, she's in Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home.
Yeah, Catherine Hicks was one of those that I recognize you, but I don't know from where.
Yeah.
So I had to look it up, and yeah, Seventh Heaven, obviously.
Yeah. And then, I don't know if she wasn't in Rumblefish, but Sophia Coppola, which is Francis Ford Coppola's daughter, I think. No, yes it is. Yes, Sophia Coppola. Playing Peggy Sue's sister. Yeah. No? Yes, she is.
Nancy.
That's the one she became a director herself, right? She made Lost in Translation and Marie Antoinette. Oh, that's her. Yeah, right.
Yeah, Virgin Suicides. And
exactly. Yeah. And then Helen Hunt makes a small role as Peggy Sue's daughter.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Which is because I'm used to her from like the 90s when she was like a huge star. So I was like, what is she doing in this movie? But yeah, I guess this was before she became a big star. I always think of it's I don't remember what it's called, the Jack Nicholson movie. Leave it from the ljusa sidan, but in English.
Right,
Something's Gotta Give? What? I don't know. I think of that one, and I think of Twister when I think of Helen Hunt. Those are the two Helen Hunt movies.
I'm thinking of that old sitcom.
Oh yeah, Mad About You. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the Jack Nicholson movie is As Good as It Gets. Not Something's Gotta Give.
Yeah.
So that was a shock to see her in such a small role.
Yeah, but it is some notable people before their prime.
Yeah. And of course, well, we mentioned it. Nicolas Cage.
Yes.
Who, we'll talk more about his acting later, but I'm just gonna say, this was so far the most Nicolas Cagey role he's done. At least in the movies we've covered so far.
Definitely.
Specifically his voice.
Yeah, I put on a weird voice. I don't know. The entire movie for some reason. Should we
save it for later, or should we just talk about him right away? I mean, it is a Nicolas Cage podcast, so...
Well, we'll just go through the movie
okay.
So people know what we're talking about.
Yes. Okay, so let's start over, or whatever. What did you think of the movie?
So, I thought it was pretty good until the ending. I thought the end of the last, 15 to 20 minutes of the movie it kind of ruined the movie for me, really.
Oh, okay.
But it was fun. It was interesting because it, as we said, she wakes up in her teenage body, and we, just as her, find the humor in teenagers being teenagers. What they think is funny and what they think is cool, and it's like you watch it from a grown-up's perspective of you silly kids.
Yes.
But in the same way, you recognize all these tropes, and you feel you were not exactly, but in the same way.
Yeah.
When you watch this pretentious guy and you think, oh God, this guy.
Dude,
but back then,
but
back then he was probably pretty cool if you were in his age.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of the humor came from that. And I thought that was pretty good. There was no really jokes in the movie, just this outside look of teenagers.
Yeah, it was something that we don't maybe mention so much when it comes to movies, but it was situational comedy. It was basically sitcom, even though that doesn't really apply. But it was the humor of the situation. It's literally situational comedy.
And I think that was pretty well done. Because I think that's comedy in that way and making it work and through an entire movie. That's a pretty good job.
Yeah,
both from the writing and directing and acting.
Oh yeah. I agree with most of it. Other than it, I didn't think the ending ruined the movie for me. It definitely got weird just before the ending, when the secret society of time travel people or whatever they were tried to
the Lords of the Universe.
That was like, wait, what? I mean that I do not understand why that was in the movie. That is the biggest problem for me.
That was
it is
weird.
The dumbest thing ever.
That really, just that section really felt like it's, as you said, that it's from a book, and it's, we need to put these guys in. Yeah, they had a huge part in the book, but not really in the movie. That was the feeling they were given.
Yeah, because this is the story. For some reason, Kathleen Turner, Peggy Sue, knows that she's about to go back. It feels like, because she wants to like visit her grandparents before she goes back to her own time. Is basically what she says. Yeah,
but it's sort of because so the story goes that in a way her fate is sealed at when she turns 18.
Oh sure, yeah.
Because she gets pregnant at 18, and because of that she gets married to Nicolas Cage character, and from there on life was sort of out of her control. Yeah,
it's like they talk about in Back to the Future. It's kind of like a temporal, I'm not sure what it's called, knutpunkt.
Oh yeah.
It's this point in space and time where everything connects. Yeah, I guess.
And I think that was sort of what they were going for. That this was a moment in time that there she had to make a choice. It wasn't certain that it would happen, but she had until then to make a choice if she want to go down the path of her own life or old life or make a completely new life.
Yeah.
And I think that was what they were ramping up, because she left town because for the reason of, I want a new life, and if I stay in this town, well, if I leave town, there's a lesser chance that that could even happen.
Yeah.
And then she goes to them because I think that's the only people she know outside of town.
Yeah,
but then I don't know about the Lords of the Universe. I don't really know what's going on there.
Yeah, because I thought she was going there and like not specifically to get like advice, but I mean she does end up getting advice from her grandma that maybe. Because she talks about her grandpa not being like it wasn't love at first sight, and you learn to love a person, which was like very very mature point of view of the whole thing, and then like I should bring my granddaughter to our lodge meeting. I thought he was like in the Moose Lodge or whatever, just guys hanging out,
and then it sort of goes to the like a Freemason thing.
Yeah, when I first saw the place, it had the pyramid with the eye in it. So I was like, "Ooh, he's a Freemason." And then they start dressing in robes. Okay, they're Freemasons. First of all, you can't just bring someone to a Freemason meeting. So I was like, okay, whatever.
Specifically, a woman, I have learned.
Yes,
that's a big thing.
Yeah.
I remember a few years ago, I looked into it for some reason, I don't remember. But there's a separate order for women.
I saw some documentary on YouTube a few years ago about that, where they were trying to dispel the myths, But yeah, that was like, girls, you can go over here. But then this guy starts talking about like, the founder of our order was a time traveler himself. I was like, what? That's very convenient that her grandpa is part of a time-traveling order. And then they have some sort of ritual to make her go back in time? But then nothing happens, and Nicolas Cage just, I guess, kidnaps her or whatever.
Yeah, I think the only... Yeah, because they do the ritual, and then the lights go out, and when the lights came back, she's gone, and then we find out that Nicolas Cage character... What is his name, the character's name?
Charlie Bedell.
Yes. Then we find out that Charlie turned off the lights, snuck in and took her for reasons, because he's a weird teenager and do weird things. And the guy, and then when lights come back on, she's gone, and the Lords of the Universe, I think they called themselves that at one point, so I have decided that that's their name.
Well, that's a good name.
When they do the ritual, they start with Lords of the Universe, and I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But and they sort of shrug and say, "Well, that's done. Let's go play poker." And I don't know. I think it's more. I think it's the only joke in the movie that we shouldn't really think about. It's just a stupid thing.
But it's so out of place in the movie.
Yeah.
If it would have just been a Freemason meeting, and they would have said, "Oh, how nice of you to bring your granddaughter," and then Nicolas Cage would have come like, "I've come to rescue you from these crazy old men." That would have made more sense, even though that would have been kind of abrupt as well. But
yeah,
it was so weird, and yeah, that was like, that really left a bad taste in my mouth. But other than that, I enjoyed the ending.
Yeah, so are we going to go into the ending, or are we going to hold off on that for a while?
I think we can probably elaborate a little bit on what happens throughout the movie, so the ending makes more sense. Because it is kind of just to preface, it's kind of a not bittersweet ending, but kind of
bad ending.
Not really. I don't know. Maybe As any good art is, it could be up to interpretation. Because I didn't see it as a bad ending per se.
Well, when we start talking ending, I'm going to tell you what up. But yeah, so she comes back in time, and she wakes up at a blood drive at our school in the 1960s, and I really like the first scenes, or the first day when she's back, because she really does these weird things. Because she thinks it's just a dream.
Oh yeah,
she drinks whiskey and go around hugging people and telling people off and doing these things that you think back of high school and thinking, I should have done that.
Yeah,
should have said that. And then sort of she goes back into the routine, sort of.
Yeah, well, yeah, when she realizes that, she can affect the past, or not. She doesn't realize that, but she thinks she might have a chance to like do some things over, basically. So she takes this chance to do that, to live out some of the stuff she didn't do when she was a teenager. Yeah,
but she's just. I think her priorities are very weird, and I don't really get them most of the time.
Okay.
There's a lot of weird. I don't know, because. Okay, I get that she goes off and sleeps with the cool guy that she never slept with.
Yeah.
I get that. Even though it's kind of weird if you think about it, that she's like 40 and in a 15-year-old body. But anyway.
Yes.
But these things of talking with... So there's one guy that is... that she went to high school with, that they find out on the reunion that he becomes like a millionaire because he's super smart guy.
Yeah, Richard Norvik is the character. Yeah. Barry Miller is the actor.
Yeah, and she looks him up, and my first thought was, she's gonna get together with him so she can become the millionaire later. That was my first thought. But no, she wanted to ask him questions about time travel and things because he's a smart guy, and we get the classic trope scene of two people in a classroom, a physics classroom, discussing time travel.
Yes.
Also seen in Donnie Darko is the first example.
Yeah, I thought that one as well. What do you know about time travel? Time travel.
Yeah, that makes sense. But then she starts sort of giving him ideas, giving him like, this is good. You need to invent the microwave.
Yeah.
Or you need to invent pantyhose or things like. Why? He's gonna be a millionaire anyway. What is the point of this?
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, it's a typical thing, where you should do this and this and this to make the future better, or at least future better for you. But he's already going to be a millionaire, so what does it matter? I'm not sure. I think they just wanted that thing in there, and she couldn't say it to anyone else because you need to be the nerdy guy who cares about time travel. Problem is, they also made him the nerdy guy who becomes a millionaire at the high school reunion kind of character. They wanted him to be both, and it didn't really work.
And then throughout the movie, she has this on and off thing with the Charlie, or Nicolas Cage character.
Yeah.
Where she sort of is between the old her, who knows that he will break her heart, and the young her, who is actually in love with him still.
Yeah.
And I think it was just very weird, because it was switching back and forth so quickly that you never really got what was happening.
No, yeah, it's it's almost towards the end. It's almost like manic the way she's going back and forth.
Yeah. It didn't ruin anything for me. It was just kind of weird.
Yes,
I would like some more exposition or some inner dialogue or something from her.
Yeah, this movie could have been a little longer. Just slow down some of those scenes and give us a little more backstory before we went back in time. Would have been nice. Because it did feel a little rushed towards the second half, I would say.
Yeah.
Not so much that it became bad, but just a little bit. But what I found the most intriguing, because I really liked the movie. Not like it was like amazing, but it was really good. I liked the fact that it was a very mature look at, like, not puppy love, but teenage feelings.
Yes.
Because she's a 40-year-old woman, like, reliving her teen years. And it was interesting to see, coupling then with how the movie ends, that she didn't just, I can't really talk about that without talking about the ending.
Should we just talk about the ending?
Yes, we just talk about the ending, yes.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, the whole thing is that Nicolas Cage character, Charlie Bodell, has, not throughout the entire marriage, but definitely through the later years of their marriage have been very unattentive. He's been cheating on her. He's been a real scumbag, basically, because they play him off as a real sleazeball the first time you see him. In that he's a commercial for he sells something. He's got a store. He sells something. I don't know what it is. Furniture or something.
No, it's like an appliance store.
Oh, right. It's electrical appliances. Yeah.
But yeah, so the story, of their marriage is that he was going to go into music, but then Peggy Sue got pregnant. They had to marry, and he had to give up music to go work with his father.
Yeah.
To support the family. And he always, in a way, sort of resented her for this. And that's why the marriage fell apart, sort of.
Or that's what we're supposed to think.
Yeah.
At first, at least.
That's what Peggy tells us, at least.
Yes. Because then when she does come back to we're going to jump a little back and forth, because when she comes back to the 1986 to now, so to speak, he's there, even though they're getting divorced and everything. He's there. He's been sitting there because she's in the hospital. And it basically ends with them more or less saying, we'll give it another shot. And you're thinking the typical ending in a movie like this would have been that, she finds someone better, and maybe that guy who she was always in love with in her teens was the right guy. But in this one, it's like, no, it might not be perfect, but, their marriage was good for the most part, so. And those, like, teenage romances usually don't pan out anyway. It's the one where it's more like pedestrian that it's actually true love, if that makes any sense. And I thought that was a very mature way to look at relationships. Love in general. I'm not sure exactly what I mean by that.
Yeah, and I have a similar but very much more not cynical but negative spin interpretation of the ending.
Oh, okay.
Because since he did not change any at all, so he cheated on her, and they got a divorce because of that.
Yeah.
He did not change in any way or realize anything. He did not go through a journey. She, the one in the right, went through a journey and learned, shut up, woman, sit down, take care of the kids and get back to the man. Come on, boys will be boys. He will cheat sometimes. Come on, just forgive him. That's the takeaway I got. It was propaganda for the housewife. It's just, come on, take it back. Because she didn't find anything new or learn anything. It wasn't like, oh, he loved me all along. No, it was the exact same that happened. It's just, what? Why? It's just, I won't get anything better, so I guess.
Well, there were... there's a little bit of that. Specifically, if we're going to look at this through a more progressive feminist lens, she definitely, every like dream she has of another life is based around a man. It's either the poet beatnik guy, it's, I guess, a little bit the nerdy millionaire guy, or it's the regular old husband she already had. Like, she never, like, imagines a life where, you know, she has a career or anything. It's just, which man should I pick? So there's a little bit of that. But other than that, I think she does, in the beginning of the movie, basically say, like, oh, I get to choose all over again, so I'm not going to pick Charlie this time. That's why I think when she comes back to the 60s, something that happened in her past and before she went back is that they were going to see other people after high school or before high school. I don't remember.
Yeah, because I think that the talking was that they were gonna keep dating up until they ended high school, and then they were gonna go separate ways for a while he was working on the music.
Yeah, because they had to be together for prom. That was yes. And that was his idea from the beginning, right?
It seems like it.
I think so. Yeah. And then from what I gather from dialogue and people's reactions, she kind of what do you call it? Resentfully agreed to that in the real past, or whatever you want to call it, the real past. But in this version, she just says, "Oh, sure," right away, because she's already preparing to like dump him, basically. And her being kind of standoffish throughout the entire movie, definitely changes up what actually happened, from what I understand. And I think, which is also maybe not the most progressive way to look at it, I think she has kind of thought that she was part of the problem, and in why he cheated on her and why they're getting a divorce, that she got knocked up when they were 18 and he resented her for it, that was mostly in her head. But now that they're more or less broken up in the movie, she sees another side of him, that he actually loves her, which she wasn't sure he did before. And that's why when he's there in the end, she's like, oh, sure, he's not perfect, but he does love me. And
yeah, and I mean, that could have worked. Again, I always do this in a lot of our podcasts, that just this small change, this small line would just change everything. But again, at the end, she asks him point blank, what about Janet, the girl he cheated with?
Yeah.
And he talks about it, and obviously he did. Even in this half-revised future, he still cheated.
But I wonder, is the future changed of what happened, or was it just the dream?
It's ambiguous. It's very ambiguous.
It's very ambiguous.
Yeah. But even if it changed, even if he was changed and showed another side, he's still fucking cheated. I don't understand how. Sure, a cheater can change his way, obviously.
Oh yeah, sure.
But he hasn't done anything to show that he changed his way. He came to the hospital when she went to the hospital. That's everything he did. He cheated on her. She went to the hospital. He went there, and okay, he's good now. He's fine. It's all forgiven. Why?
Yeah, well, I mean,
if he have done anything, if we have just seen him change in any meaningful way, it would have been okay. It would have been fine. But nothing changed. The only thing that changed was her mind, that she decided, I loved him when we were 18 or 16 or whatever. So I guess,
No, but I think we do see. It's hard to say that we see change in him because we never saw him before. But I think she sees some change in him because of what happens in her time traveling or dream or whatever it is.
And again, that's because she changed. So the meaning of the movie is, if your partner cheats on you, you should think about yourself a little more. That's it. Yeah, sure, she sees more sides of him. Sure, but he has not repented in any way. That's the message of the movie. If your partner does something wrong, you should think about what you did to provoke that. That's the issue. That's the big issue I have.
Okay.
Which really sinks the movie for me.
I don't see it quite that way, but I understand what you're saying.
I don't know what the movie wants to tell people more than, because that's a big thing. While she in the past chooses, if she can choose, it's ambiguous stated, but to be with Charlie and have the same future as she had in the beginning. That's because she can't see a life without her kids.
Yes, that's another part of it.
Thing.
Yeah,
that's a big thing.
If she's not with Charlie, she's not going to have her kids.
Yeah,
and even if being cheated on is a big big part of your life. There's still good in her life, like her daughter that we see, and her son that we only hear about, but still.
And I think
that's part of it as well. Part of the more mature look at love. Not saying that cheating is fine or cheating is always forgivable, but that that problems. Every relationship has problems, and you can't just throw it away because this one thing happened.
I am completely fine with that take of the movie, that it's easy to think back and I would have changed this, I would have been with this person, I would have done this to become a millionaire. It's easy to think that, but
when you're actually there,
if you actually think back to your life, if you, I've not connected to this movie. I've had these. I have thought about that a lot these last weeks for some reason. Just if you go back in your life, from where would you go back? Because if you go back to, I don't know, since you're 8, that's a lot of things that you need to get the friends that you value and the connections you have. That's a lot of work to make that thing work or to happen.
Yes.
And I was thinking, like, how far back can you go without screwing the most important things in your life? And what I've discovered is, like, maybe 5 years just to invest in bitcoins. That's about that. Because if you go further back than that,
you're gonna ruin something good.
Yeah, you're gonna ruin your life. You have the things you value, and I think that's a very interesting take of the movie. That it's sure you made mistakes, but at the end, you got your kids and you got a life that's pretty good. Yeah,
exactly. Unless your life has been a miserable nightmare for a long time, there's not really any point to changing, at least not make any big changes, because even though some stuff sucks, like you said, there's still, a lot, the most of it is good, so.
Yeah. And I like that. It's just, my biggest issue is the Charlie relationship, because it would also be fine if she came back and just valued her life more, stopped complaining, and be a more happy person.
Yeah.
And that doesn't need to have anything to do with Charlie.
Yeah, and that's why I think we needed the movie needed to be like 10, maybe 15 minutes longer. So we just got the characters were a little more fleshed out before she went back. And yeah, so maybe we got something from her contemporary life that she actually values beyond her marriage and her kids, make her more of a 3-dimensional character. But it all just like in the 60s scenes, it all hinges on a man. And yeah, that is a problem. But I think it wasn't a big enough problem to ruin the movie for me.
Also, another thing that would have been interesting is the concept is very interesting. And I think we all have played with the thoughts, and I don't know if any other movie has done this. Do you know any?
With them traveling back in time like this?
Well, in your own timeline in this way.
In this way, no, but it definitely feels like TriStar wanted their own Back to the Future, so they got these people to write a movie for them, and it was because it came out a year after.
Well, okay. Because I was just the philosophical question of going back in your own life and changing your own life. Would you do it or not?
I don't know.
That question, because we have all, I think every single person on Earth have been thinking about it at some point in their life, that if I could go back, would I change?
Yeah.
Things like that. So it is an interesting question. I think the movie did it pretty well, except the ending. And I would have seen more of these things. See, as you said, if it was longer, to have more in the beginning and more in the end.
Yes.
In the now times. It could have been she realized that she has grown resenting or became a very negative person as she grows older, and then she goes back and meets her friends, and they are like, "Why are you so negative? You used to be so bubbly and fun." And maybe realize that the things that happen with Charlie and her life, maybe it is because she became standoffish, or
well, I think that's part of the character. They just don't explore it enough.
Yeah, and I think
that's definitely how I see it. Like I said, that she has kind of felt responsible, even though that's not the right way to see it, but partly responsible in why their marriage is breaking down and why he cheated. That he has resented her is what she thinks, but it doesn't seem like that was what actually happened because of the actions he takes in this alternate 1960s.
But I would have wanted to see this, that she at the beginning of the movie thought it was all his fault, and then realized throughout the movie that maybe I was the issue.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
And we don't have that at all in this.
No. That's the expansion that would have been very nice.
Yeah, and then this would have been a great movie, I'd say, if they explored those feelings more and those personal traits.
Oh yeah, and I'm trying to figure out if there's any movie like this, and the only thing I can think of is the movies where like grown-ups become teenagers again, but they're still in the same time. And then, of course, regular just time travel movies, but that's different.
Well, there's one movie, but it is a little more chaotic in this one. It's not as controlled. That's Butterfly Effect.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, much more chaotic.
But it is sort of the same.
It's kind of the same. Yeah.
It is.
Only difference is he can sort of control when and where he wants to go back because of his diary. Yeah. But other than that, it's basically the same.
Yeah, it's sort of the same message too, that changing things isn't a good idea. It's good as it is.
Yeah. You might not think it now, but your life was fine.
Yeah.
Mostly fine.
Mostly fine. Yeah.
Mostly fine. His life is kind of screwy when that movie starts, but mostly fine.
But the more he travels, the more screwy it becomes.
Yes, it just gets worse and worse and worse. That's a good movie. Sorry for digressing. I think that's a good
movie that people don't appreciate that movie.
Yeah, it's getting like undeservedly bad reviews, I think.
Yeah, but it's because it's what is his name?
Ashton Kutcher. Ashton
Kutcher. That's only because he was in. I don't know. He had become a joke.
Yeah, because of that 70s
when
show.
He got that role.
Yeah.
And I think that if that movie had come like maybe 2-3 years earlier or 2-3 years later, it wouldn't have got the hate. It was just because it came exactly when people hated him the most.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it's got a 30 out of 100 on Metacritic. That's not fair.
No.
It's not perfect, but it's not a 3 out of 10.
No.
Anyway, back to Peggy Sue. Yeah. Well, yeah. It is similar to Butterfly Effect, but a little happier. That movie is very pitch black.
Another movie that's sort of, but that's a stretch. The Jacket, sort of.
I haven't seen that one.
It's sort of. He travels back in his own timeline, but
yeah, I've heard stuff that it's kind of like that, but I'm not sure.
It's a lot darker and it's fun. Even darker than Butterfly Effect, I'd say.
Okay.
But yeah, so overall a good movie, but the ending ruined it for me.
Yeah.
What do you?
Well, no, I was gonna say, what's it called? Damn it! It's a Wonderful Life, but he doesn't actually travel back in time. We just see what happened, in his life, and then we see what the world would look like without him in the last 20 minutes or something.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit, but no, not really. But that's a good movie.
No, wait, yeah, but that's not traveling in time at all in that movie.
No. Like I said, we see his past like the angels are watching it like a movie, but the last 10, 15, 20 minutes, he gets to see what the world would be like if he didn't do all the stuff he did.
Oh.
So it's not really similar. I just thought of It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah. That movie quickly become one of my absolute favorite Christmas movies.
Oh
in
yes.
The last few years.
Oh yes. Yeah, I didn't see it up until 3 or 4 years ago, but man, do I love that movie! Oh my god.
But back to this movie.
Yes, Peggy Sue.
What did you think about the movie before you saw it, and did it? How much difference was it?
Before
none of us had seen it, right?
No. Before I saw it, I thought it was gonna be like a really it's gonna be like a romantic comedy, but with a Coppola twist to it. And it kind of is, but I didn't really, except for a couple of scenes, I didn't really feel Coppola's style there, really. I'm not sure what I was expecting. I just thought it would feel more like a Coppola movie, which it didn't, except for a couple of moments. But I still thought that he would handle the material well, and it would be a good movie. And I was like I said last week, and probably some week before that as well, I was looking forward to watch this, mainly because I think he is a great director. Although I for some reason thought he had a hand in the writing, which he didn't, so maybe that's also why it felt a little less like Coppola. Having seen it, I still really like it. I think I like it as much as I thought I would. I'm not sure. What about you?
Well, as we talked about a little at the end of the last podcast, I'm not a big fan of Coppola. I respect him. He's one of the greatest directors of all time.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's just fact.
Yes.
But I usually don't like his the subject of his movies. I think the subject is pretty boring. He does the best he can with a boring subject. Even Grumblefish is pretty boring subject, but I gave that a pretty good score.
Yeah.
So, because he makes it good. And I think this movie really. I thought I would sort of enjoy it, but it sounded like a standard 80s comedy.
Yeah, you sounded pretty negative like last week.
Yeah. I thought I would enjoy it, but I didn't think I would like it. If we put it like that. Yeah, more like a bad Back to the Future. That was what I was expecting, sort of.
Okay.
But with very good cinematography.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, it was better than I thought. I thought it was interesting with, as I said in the beginning, this outside look at teenagers that really felt like real teenagers in a way, even though it's not a time I was a teenager in, but you could get the similarities and.
Well, yeah.
And I think that was really good. So it was above my expectations.
Okay.
In the end.
Well, before we grade it, we actually forgot to talk about one thing. Mm-hmm. Nicolas Cage. We just briefly mentioned him and said we'll talk about him later. Well. Yeah. So let's discuss his performance. And like I said earlier in this one, this is his most Nicolas Cagey, rage cagey performance so far.
Yeah. Because
he, for some reason, decided to use almost like a Bob Dylan voice throughout the entire movie. It starts with him in this this commercial for his store, and he's using this kind of weird voice, and I was like, oh, he's putting on a voice for the commercial, but then he appears in the movie.
Be old, also.
Yeah, but then he appears in the movie, and he sounds the same way, and then when you hear him in the 60s, he's basically talking like this. You're like, what are you doing?
Why?
It's so weird. What is the point of making a silly voice for this character when every other person in the movie is just acting like a normal person? He acts like some sort of I don't know what.
And he also, that's not really his performance, but I think this is
sure.
This is the ugliest I've seen him so far. He looks so weird. That weird hair and the. I think he does something with his teeth or his jaw to make his teeth stick out.
Yeah, he
has an overbite or something.
I don't know what he does, but it's something. And we're not supposed to talk about his teeth anymore. But in this movie, he mentions his teeth. He says, yeah. "I got the perfect hair. I got the perfect teeth." I'm like, damn it, stop it.
Yeah, he's weird. He acts weird. He looks weird.
He's acting like, you know what? He's acting like someone in a movie from the 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
And I wonder if so I wanted to encapsulate the 50s in my acting. So I sort of started shaking around and talking with a high-pitched voice. And I was like, no! And why didn't the director say, Nicholas, please, just talk in your regular voice? I can't, man. This is my character now.
It was a little Adam Sandler-ish.
Almost, yeah.
With this, why would you do this? It doesn't add anything.
And when you don't really get a lot of good looks at his face, but when you see it, he's got bleached eyebrows and his hair is super blonde. It just looks weird.
Yeah,
and then I don't know. There's a scene towards the end when he climbs up the roof and sneaks into Peggy Sue's bedroom.
Yeah,
the scene where he contemplates killing her for some reason.
And he looks outside of the room. He's like,
yes, he's standing
up like a vampire.
Yes, he's standing next to the window. His hands are up like claws, and he's like twiddling his fingers like diddly, and then he just he creeps in through the window and is going to smother her with a pillow, and then he's like, oh no, and she wakes up, and I'm like, what is a couple of times I snickered at his acting, but when that scene happened, I just flat out I bursted out in laughter.
Yeah, and I was 100%, but there has to be a dream sequence because he's acting so weird. But nope, that's how he acted.
Oh my god! And it was
he also does these weird over dramatic. Oh,
yeah.
How could you done this? And these just looking away very dramatically all the time, and it's. I don't know.
And the scene, it's mostly just the script that is funny there. But when after the birthday party, when they're in the car and she wants to have sex and he doesn't, And he's like, "Oh, you didn't want to before, but now you do? No." And then he lets her out, and he's like, before he shuts the door, she's like, "Woman, manipulator," and then it just screeches away. Just like, wait, woman, manipulator.
No, it's not manipulator. Oh. It's something like degrader or
something like that. But just who says that?
I don't know.
Oh.
Because it really he sticks out because. As you said, nobody else acts in this way.
No,
it would have been fine if everyone has acted this way.
And the thing is,
was like a choice, a stylist's choice.
Yeah, but you have Jim Carrey acting more normal than Nicolas Cage in this movie. I gotta say, though, it was kind of fun because you did see he's just playing a regular teenager, but there was a couple of Jim Carrey mannerisms there as well. I was like, oh look, because you don't really think of him in that way before, I guess. I don't know which one came out first, but Dumb and Dumber or Ace Ventura. But it was still there. It was still there. The tongue and everything.
Yeah. You could see it was Jim Carrey, but it was a very mellowed down Jim Carrey.
Yes.
But he was pretty good in this movie.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
He did a good job.
It's nice to see him play normal.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a mystery why. This performance was a mystery.
Oh yeah, but it's nice to see that he's
ramping up.
Oh right, no, sorry, I just looked at the clip. Yeah, she says, "I'm sorry," and he says, "Save it, woman, humiliator."
Humiliator. That's what it is.
Humiliator. Yeah. Right. I would love to. I haven't really looked into any behind the scenes stuff on this one. I didn't have time, but I would love to listen to an interview with him, just to hear what the choice was here, because we know from Rumblefish that he puts a lot of thought into even a small role like in Rumblefish.
Okay, so I just read the trivia regarding the voice.
Oh, okay. I didn't look it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Nicolas Cage. I'm reading straight from the page here. Nicolas Cage based his character's voice on Pokey of the Gumby Show from 1956. So it's a specific character from a 50s show.
Yeah.
Francis Ford Coppola and the producer hated the voice, and Cage was nearly fired. But Cage managed to convince Coppola he was making a good choice. No, it was not a good choice. It was a bad choice, actually.
It was a bad choice, but I gotta say, it didn't. Like I said, it didn't ruin the movie. And when people talk about Peggy Sue Got Married, they don't talk about Nicolas Cage. At least not that I've heard. I haven't watched too much about it. So I guess it wasn't a good choice, but at least it didn't ruin the movie.
No, it didn't ruin the movie. It was a
strange choice.
Yeah, but you got over it pretty quickly, I'd say.
Yes. Except for the creeping through the window scene.
Yeah.
It all came back, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, there was some specific moments. It was also at the end, after he kidnaps her takes her from the Lords of the Universe, and they go into a greenhouse, and he grovels in the mud and tried to propose to her. That was also very weirdly acted, because it was this this sort of Tom Wiseau acting, where he's super super high emotions without showing any of them.
It's kind of it's very physical, but it's lazily physical.
Yeah, it's hard to describe that kind of acting, but more than Tom Wiseau is the expert at it.
Yeah, yes, the final scenes of The Room is very very similar.
Yeah. I think of the specific scene I think that is the end, when he just throws down things on the floor.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Oh. I'm fed up with this life. Yeah.
Exactly. It is the end. Yeah. But yeah, so I think the window scene and that scene was too specific, where it just got too much.
Yeah.
Other than that, he walked the line. throughout the movie.
Oh yeah, yes. But that's it's kind of interesting because this is the first we've seen a little like little hints of the Nicolas Cage we know from now, but this is the first time he really felt like, you know, Nicolas Cage, one of those crazy Nicolas Cage movies. At least his acting did. And I would, but this was this early in his career, and he was almost fired by one of the most respected directors in Hollywood in history, and still he managed to have a career that went on for more than 30 years after this. Like, what is it? Because he does this so many more times, you know, act weird, act in a way that shouldn't work, but it still works. I mean, we haven't watched it yet, but Vampire's Kiss, Jesus Christ, or which we're going to talk about in a while, but Leaving Las Vegas, he's so strange in that movie. And not just because, his character is constantly drunk. No. He is strange in the movie.
But I think we gravitate to these characters or these character actors who just unapologetically acts weird and strange and definitely do not care what you think about it.
Yeah,
there's something about, there are a few of those actors where we just, Christopher Walken is another perfect example of just, he's just seemed to enjoying himself, and we don't understand why he does what he does, but he does it, and it's interesting to watch.
I would say that's in his later movies. Like, looking at him in Deer Hunter, he's just a guy, you know, that's doing a good job of acting. And Nicolas Cage is, and even if, Christopher Walken is definitely, like, unique in his way of being, but there's no one else, at least that I've seen, that does what Nicolas Cage does, and does it, you know, in mainstream Hollywood movies. Sure, you can find, like, weird character actors in, like, indie movies and stuff, but Nicolas Cage is completely unique in what he does. And it's interesting to see that he's done it so far back in his acting career, and that it has worked for some reason.
It can't be explained more than, I mean, I enjoy watching it.
Oh yeah, me too. But I mean, that could be, at least I feel like that is my goal with this, is to, like, figure out how he has managed to have a career by acting this strange. I mean, look at a guy like Crispin Glover, who we talked about in Racing with the Moon.
Yeah.
He is strange, but because of that, he hasn't really had a big, you know, huge career like Nicolas Cage. You see him here and there, but I mean, he hasn't started any movies since Back to the Future, I suppose. Mm. I wish he would. I love Crispin Glover, but he hasn't. So what's the difference there, you know?
I think the difference between them, because I think Crispin Glover is a perfect example of the same strangeness.
Yeah.
I think the difference is that Crispin Glover says no to the parts. He's very... I mean, that's
okay,
true.
That could make sense. Sure,
he's extremely selective to what movies he makes. He gets offered movies all the time, but he rarely takes any, because he doesn't want to. I mean, Back to the Future 2, he declined that movie.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of interesting movies that he just declined because it wasn't in what he wanted. But Nicolas Cage doesn't decline. I don't think he knows how to.
No, yeah.
And I mean, even back then, because at this point, because you always talk about or hear about it, that he makes so many movies because he has all these debts that he needs to pay.
Yeah.
But I mean, back then, at this point, he didn't have those debts at this point, and he still makes like 2 to 3 movies a year.
Yeah, that's true.
Always just extremely prolific and just says yes to everything. And I think that's one of the reasons.
Yeah, maybe he was just...
The real question is, why does people offer him so many parts? That's the real question.
Yeah, sure, that's definitely part of it too.
And I mean, that could just simply be because he has a lot of contacts. He's been in the film industry, and he's from a film industry, from Coppola's family, and I think he just have a lot of contacts at this point in time, at least.
That might be it, yeah.
So yeah, and again, everyone enjoys watching him.
Oh yes.
I also read now that for Nicolas Cage voice in this movie. He actually, I don't know if it was his choice. It sounds like it was his choice, but he has big dentures to give himself an overbite for the voice's sake.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think it is for the voice's sake. I'm not sure, but
well, then there was fucking teeth in this movie as well.
There's
Damn
always
it!
teeth. We just have to create this specific segment of this podcast. Nicolas Cage's teeth.
Yes, the teeth segment. So, what are his teeth like in this movie? They're fine. Yeah.
But yeah, so I'd say this movie is worth a watch, but I wouldn't. It's not worth a rewatch for me, at least.
No, maybe not. Unless you're watching it with someone who hasn't seen it.
I don't think I would have. It's not a movie. If someone asks to see it, sure, but I won't.
Should we watch Piggy Sue Got Married? You wouldn't say that, yeah. No, probably not. But I'll recommend it like this. Like, oh yeah, sure, go see it, sure.
Yeah, sure. Just don't involve me in it.
Exactly. Why?
So, what score are you gonna give it?
Well, I like 7s. So, and I mean, I can't give it an 8. It's not an 8. It is a 7, unfortunately.
I did see that you went in and changed your grade for Rumblefish.
Yes, I had to do it. It just looked weird based on my feelings on that movie. Now it's just like it's not a 7. It's at least an 8. So yeah, I had to change that one. But it's still mostly 7s for me.
So this is a 7. This one.
Yes, this is a 7.
So I'm gonna give it a 6. It is a 7, but the ending actually puts it down to a 6.
Okay. So,
if the ending was changed, I would give it a 7, a strong 7. But yeah.
Okay, I gotta just quickly before we end, because I just looked up interviews with him about it. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but the opening sentence here. Nicolas Cage's time on the set of Peggy Sue Got Married is pretty infamous, as is his performance. But he says he never wanted to be in the film in the first place. So why then, when they try to fire him, did he say, "No, please don't fire me"? I'm wondering which is the truth here.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a lot of stories that I read about. What is her name? The main character.
Damn it.
Kathleen Turner.
Kathleen Turner, yes.
She apparently lost they settled a libel suit with Nicolas Cage. Regarding she said in her memoirs that he was arrested twice and stolen a dog during this movie.
Okay.
And they settled a libel suit over that. So there seems to be a lot of stories around this movie.
Huh, yeah.
For some reason.
I should have looked into it more before we did the... But whatever. That's the past, man. And, there's not really any point to trying to change the past. The past is what it is.
One small interesting trivia. It was something actually I thought about, because they introduced this character, which seemed important, but then they never revisit her again. The character in a wheelchair at a reunion.
Oh, yeah. Who was that in the... flashbacks or whatever?
She wasn't in the flashbacks, apparently. She was cut out.
She
was apparently a gymnast who was in an accident in high school, which made her cripple. And that would be one of the things that she would stop. Or Peggy Sue would stop that. No. But I guess it doesn't say, just me guessing that it was cut out because that would have made it too obvious if it was a dream or not.
Yes, because as it is now, there is no indication whether or not it actually happened.
There's only that
hinted
the book from the author guy.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Which hints on it, but it's not strong enough to make a conclusion.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, so there seemed to be a lot of talk about this movie. We've gone over, so I guess other people should need to go in and look at the trivia. If they want to. But yeah. Pretty good movie.
Pretty good movie. Next week? Yes, next week. It's the Italian movie, right?
No.
Oh.
It is not. That's a while. Vampire's Kisses before the Italian movie. So.
Oh, what?
Yeah. Next week is Racing Arizona.
Racing Arizona, right.
Coen Brothers movie, which I've actually seen. And,
I have not seen. I think I've seen parts of it.
So I saw it a long time ago, but back then I enjoyed it. So we'll see what I think now.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, it is a Coen Brothers movie, so it should be good.
Yeah, old Coen is good. I don't like new Coen though.
Some of their new stuff is good.
That's for next podcast.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next week. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. If you are listening to this, whether it's on YouTube as a video, quote unquote, or on actual podcast platforms such as Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, wherever you're listening to this. Be sure to hit 5 stars or follow or thumbs up or whatever you do wherever you're listening to it. And if you want to get future episodes a while like before the rest of the world, check us out on Patreon. It's patreon.com/don'tmakeascene, where you also get exclusive episodes from my other podcast, the Spoilercast, and exclusive videos, commentary tracks, sometimes with Christopher. We did a Blade Runner commentary track a while back. Yeah, you'll also help us, keep making podcasts for the same money you'll spend on coffee, one day. That'll last us a month. So check that out. But other than that, please join us next week when we'll talk about Racing Arizona. But until then, have a good one. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
The Nicolas Cage podcast is part of Please Don't Make a Scene. It's produced, directed, and edited by Tobias Widén. Hosted by Tobias Widén and Christopher Billén after an original idea by Christopher Billén. Executive producer is Annika Widén. And a big thank you to all our sponsors over at Patreon for keeping the show going. Laura Kinney, Rasmus Jonsson, Mom, and Dad. If you also want to join our Patreon, you can at www.patreon.com/don'tmakeascene. Help us keep the show going.